Hey family, welcome to the Paige Experience Strong Women series. I am here with my good friend Paige.
Hi Tamara, how are you? Hi everyone.
It's so good to see you. We actually went to middle school and high school together, and it's just so great to just see each other and see how we've grown and the women that we have become.
Exactly.
You know, we've stayed connected through Facebook. I'm sure there was a season we stayed connected through MySpace, and it's just so great to have you here to share your story. Paige, she really takes joy and pride in just sharing her story on social media so that people are aware, so that if you are nervous to ask anyone or to share, that you can see, oh wow, she's experienced this. Maybe I could talk to her.
Right.
And I love that about you.
Thank you.
And today we're going to be talking about health challenges. There are so many different women that deal with different health challenges. And today we're going to be talking about diabetes.
Yes.
And Paige, you were diagnosed at a very young age. Can you share with us about that?
So yes, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 2003. So we were in 7th grade, and that was already a rough time. Anybody that's been in middle school knows 7th grade is already tough. So it was really strange how it all happened, actually. So type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. So that means that, long story short, essentially your immune system is super powerful and gets confused and attacks itself, like attacks your own body. So what had happened was I had been sick over Christmas break, and it was just a regular like flu, nothing that was really concerning to anybody. And then come February, the end of January, beginning of February, Mrs. Lynch, Rosemary Lynch, who was our home ec teacher in middle school. Yes, and her son was the band director, and of course I was in band and all that stuff. So she has, one of her other sons has type 1 diabetes. So she was, letting me go to the bathroom and letting me go out to get drinks at her water fountain right outside her classroom all the time. And one day after school, I had her for the last period of the day, and she asked me all these really weird questions. Are you using the bathroom a lot? Are you drinking a lot of water? Have you lost a lot of weight? And everything that she's asking me is a symptom of type 1 diabetes. And of course, I didn't know that at the time. I'm 12, And so I'm going, yes, 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 to all her questions and starting to get real scared. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? And she's like, Paige, I think you might have type 1 diabetes. I'm going to call your mom as soon as school is done. And from the time I left school on the school bus to the time I got home, my mom had already made me an appointment with our pediatrician. Oh, wow. And so the next day, my dad took me to the doctor, and I was admitted. My sugar was almost 800 when I was diagnosed. My pediatrician didn't know how I wasn't already like in the hospital in a coma, something, because I had diabetic ketoacidosis. So it took about a week, and I was out of the hospital, and I was 12, and I had this whole new life set out before me. But, it's really, I think for a lot of people, when you're diagnosed with an illness like diabetes, at least from my experience as a kid, it just becomes part of your everyday thing. Things change, but I think that children are much more resilient when it comes to changes like that. And with my diabetes, my parents were always very, very good at teaching me, this is something you are in charge of. We're here to help you, but at the end of the day, you're going to be a grown-up and you're going to have to take care of it. And it doesn't have to prevent you from doing anything as long as you take care of it.
Yeah.
And I think that, at the time as a kid, I was like, well, why do I have to do it all? But it really set me up for success to be able to have the care that I have now. I mean, my hemoglobin A1C as of a few weeks ago was 5.5. So
and that's
amazing.
good, right?
That's at non-diabetic levels. So someone without diabetes would have a hemoglobin A1C around that same area. So it's not always been that way. But yeah, it was a very strange experience for us, and a lot of change happened very quickly for my entire family unit. So yeah, it was a lot.
That is awesome about your parents and how they made sure that you knew how to take care of yourself to set you up for when you were an adult to get to this point.
Right.
And how was it like in school? Because you were in 7th grade, and 7th grade was a rough year, as we both can see. That was definitely an interesting, I don't know what it is about 7th grade anyways.
I don't either.
And then add on a diagnosis.
Yeah.
You know, and thank God for Mrs. Lynch, you know, and seeing that, you know, seeing something in you that, you know, her child had, you know what I mean? But how was it like for you in school? Because although you had such great help with your teachers, middle school's rough with the kids. How was that like?
I got picked on a good bit at first. It's so funny because my husband teases me that I need to somehow get over this, but I have a hard time wearing shorts. Because when I was first diagnosed, there was a girl in my gym class who asked me why I had all these bruises on my legs, and I was wearing shorts in gym, you know, and I was like, oh, I have these bruises because I have diabetes and I have to give myself shots. So after that, a couple days later, I went to lunch and none of my friends wanted to sit with me because this girl in my gym class had told everyone I was doing drugs. Because I had needles and I had syringes and I had bruises and all these things, and you know, it was just really it was really hurtful in that moment, and I was picked on for it, but I really learned quickly too. And you know, some people might frown upon this because it really is a defense mechanism that our brains do, but I learned to make a joke of it myself and make a joke out of myself in a way. And I try now as an adult to not make degrading jokes of myself, but you know, you have to have a good sense of humor with anything, just in life in general. And so being able to, you know, kind of grow that kind of humor for myself, like people couldn't pick on me if I was already laughing at myself.
Right.
You know, like, you know, my sugar would get low and I would do something silly, and you know, at first I'd be picked on for it and I'd be like, oh, you guys got a good show today, I don't know what you're complaining about, you know, like that. So it was just that, and that has kind of taken over just my normal everyday demeanor. Like, of course, there's times where things are important, but if you can't have a good sense of humor with things, it really only hurts you. Yeah. I feel like it doesn't always necessarily, you know, it's more of a hurt to you because the bullies don't care. They're trying to hurt your feelings, but if you take that energy and that power away from them, it's so much. You take so much away from them and give it back to yourself. Yeah. So
that's good. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot. You know, there was always something. You know, in band when we were in high school. Oh my! There was a few times I almost didn't make it off a marching field, and you know, I had some really good friends in band that really helped take care of me too. They looked after me. They looked after my symptoms, and you know, that's a big responsibility for a bunch of 15-year-olds. Really, you know, and the love that they gave me and making sure that I had what I needed, and you know, they always saved orange juice, the last orange juice container. You know, those little plastic containers of orange juice we would get in school. They would always save the last one for me. So, you know, there was good with the bad.
Yeah. So that's good to share that, because when you say, oh, how was school, you know, you want to think of the negative, because there is so many bullying and rejection, because with your friends not wanting to sit with you, that's rejection. It's like, I'm already battling, you know, this diagnosis. I'm young, like where did this come from? And then now my friends don't want to be with me. But then also, and that's what I love about like band, or like I was in Good Times, show choir.
I remember,
yes. And what I do love is that family dynamic.
Yes.
And so to see, like, you know, there were some rough moments, but also I had a support system too in school. So that is really good.
And I think that's something important that we need to teach our children as well. You know, I have a 2-year-old daughter, and man, is she a firecracker. But I tell people all the time, she's loud, she's wild, and she's kind. And right now, sometimes that wild and loud thing is a little much, but someday that's going to encourage her to be like, hey, wait a second, like it's not right to pick on that person for something like that. And I hope that that's what I teach her. And I hope that that's what she sees with my diabetes too, is someone who looks normal, but is still technically very sick every day of their life, and there's those silent illnesses like that. So it's really important to teach our kids that too.
Definitely, I agree. And we kind of started touching base on it a little bit, but how has this affected you mentally and emotionally?
It's a little bit of both. I've been an active duty member of type 1 diabetes for almost 20 years now. Wow. So longer than most. I'm 31, so you guys can you can do the math. It's one of those things that it's just always there. And there are days where I think to myself, well, diabetes won today. I did everything I could. I used my technology the way that I'm supposed to, and thank goodness for the technology. Yes. But, some days diabetes just wins, and you have to go to bed at night, and I have to go to bed and just be like, tomorrow I can do better. I will defeat my diabetes tomorrow. The diabetes won't defeat me. And just having that strong support network, I have an amazing endocrinologist here in Martinsburg, and I tell you, she's the type of doctor that all doctors should strive to be. Yeah. And she is very aware of my mental as well as my physical health, but very much, she checks on me too when I see her. And I think it's building a support network around yourself and building your family, your tribe. That's really, that's what really is the most important thing to keep yourself mentally healthy. Yeah. And I always want to encourage people too, it doesn't matter what you're going through, as long as you know that you can reach out to professionals for help, and that is okay. It's okay. It is okay. We're encouraging it, But I think that my diabetes has really molded a lot of, like I said, my humor, but also just the way that I perceive other people. I'm a very strong advocate for don't judge a book by its cover. Yeah. Because you don't know what people are dealing with day to day, and I don't want to be the excuse for the reason for someone having a bad day. And there are days where I go to work and my sugar is running high or it's running low, and I'm shoving candy in my mouth and I'm all over the place. And luckily, I've built a network of people that when I, come home, my husband says, "How was your day?" "Diabetes won today." And he's like, "Oh my." Yeah. So he gets it, and he gives, and I have, my friends too. I mean, even you've reached out to me about, my posts and my comments and my things about, being strong is not just a physical strength, but just as much a mental strength.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So you were talking about your device. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure, absolutely. So this is a Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor, and what this does is it's just inserted right under my skin. It has this little transmitter on it, and it constantly, every 5 minutes, it gives me a blood sugar reading, so I don't have to prick my fingers anymore, which is a huge advancement for diabetes care. I don't know if anybody watched the Super Bowl, but our patron saint Nick Jonas was on there doing his Dexcom commercial. Yeah, Nick Jonas has type 1 diabetes, so we always, my peers, my diabetes family, we always joke and say that he's our patron saint. So, but yeah, so we have this, and this is awesome because I can see what my blood sugar is right on my Apple Watch. Oh, wow. On my phone. But even better yet, it communicates with this insulin pump. So this is a tandem insulin pump, and what it does is you fill it up with insulin so you don't have to take injections. Yeah. This works like an IV. It's hooked up to me, but it's not in a vein. So it's just in my tummy and fatty tissue. And what it does is it delivers my insulin based on the doses that it's set in it, but it also reads my blood sugar from this device and works with it to adjust my insulin needs, much like your pancreas does, right?
Yes.
So that is an amazing piece of technology, and I just wanted to take a minute to talk about the technology in the sense of it's astronomical how much diabetes care is. Devices like this, the cost of these devices, the cost of insulin itself in the United States is unbelievable. People have to ration insulin because they can't afford it. They have to choose between groceries for their family and their medication. They're going to pick the groceries for their family, and they're going to be sick while doing it. And I just have no patience for that, you know. And the fact that people of color and minorities do not statistically receive the care that I do as an upper middle class skinny white girl, if it's this hard for me, I can't even imagine how my peers of color with diabetes.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel guilty sometimes that I have these pieces of technology, but the way that my endocrinologist helped me see it, because she's also a minority doctor, she's Latino, and so she understands that side of it, and you know, she's like, you have to use these devices to keep yourself healthy so that you can keep screaming to those in the back of the crowd.
You are such an advocate.
Thank you.
You really are.
I really try to be. I do, because it's not fair. We live in a country, we live in the greatest country, right? And let's take care of our people and treat them with fairness and respect, and understand that their medical illnesses are no worse or no less than anyone else's. Everyone's medical illness is just as important and just deserves to be treated correctly. Definitely. And if I can have a 5.5 A1C with the devices, imagine what that could do for the whole community. If our entire diabetes community would have access to the care that I do.
Yeah.
And I just always want to make sure to bring that to light, because statistically, you know, people of color are more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. And type 2 can be just as dangerous as type 1 if it's not taken care of properly. So we really need to have a whole revamp of that system and how we're going to make it work better for our people in this country.
I think you can do it.
Oh, thanks.
I believe in you.
I believe in small accomplishments. Like the fact that I'm able to speak with you today about this important thing. I don't know how many people might see this, but it's the little moments like this that you're able to grasp. And that's when you really do your best advocating, you know, is when you have these open and honest conversations.
That's why I wanted to show everyone, to bring more awareness, because I when I think about, I know so many people, I'm related to so many people that have diabetes, and I've never heard I haven't heard anyone that's had that besides you. I know you talk about it all the time, and I've never even heard anyone mention it. And so I'm thinking about all my different loved ones and my family members all over, and I'm like, friends, and I'm like, I wonder if they even know about this.
Then that's just it.
And that brings awareness. So, I mean, that you can even ask your doctor, you know, I heard about this. I heard a woman share about this. What is this? What do I need to do to get this? Because this can help me. If she can get that A1C there, I'm trying to get there too, you know?
I tell you, with this technology system I have, I felt like I didn't have to do any work to get it that low. Like, I mean, of course, there's the normal, you know, it's something like diabetics make of like 180 extra decisions a day. So I think it's more than that if you ask me, but I've never kept track either. But, you know, if I can, you know, show people that these devices work and that they exist, you know, there's also a big stigma with insulin pumps for a lot of folks, because they think that it is a surgical device. Like, you have to have this device implanted. No. You just put it in yourself every few days and get it done. And I really want people to understand that this is an excellent solution for now until we have a cure, you know?
Because it's coming.
It's coming. It better be, man. They told me that. I'm looking at the date, and I'm like, you know, they told me I'd have a cure before I was 18, and now I'm 31. I'm like, I need to talk to someone over at Winchester Medical Center. So I got lied to, but it's all right. Yeah, no, it's okay, and you know, and I hope that we can live in a world without diabetes someday. But in the meantime, I'm gonna keep arguing for my people and my community, and just strong women everywhere. You know. And growing up with an illness is hard, but I think it's also taught me to be kind. It's given me a whole different level of kindness, I think. And I think you know me well enough to know that that's my thing. That's what I want to be remembered for, is my kindness and my willingness to help, and that expanding down the line through my family. You know, my daughter, be kind. If she chooses to have a family, her family, be kind. You know, and I think that if everybody could just focus on that really easy goal and really just try to work together as other people, you know, we could come up with so many more solutions to things if we could all just work together. And that includes diabetes care. Like, I see people all the time that post great ideas of how we can fix America's healthcare system, but like, they're not the ones in charge. Like, why aren't we the ones in charge?
Yes.
You know, like the people that live these lives, why aren't they the ones that get to decide? You know, so you know, and that's just kind of my thoughts on it. You know, you've got to spread the good to get the good.
Now, this year you've had some other health challenges that have come up. Can you share with us about that?
Absolutely. So with diabetes being an autoimmune disease, it does this thing sometimes where it likes to make a new autoimmune disease for you. So about a year and a half ago, I really started to not feel well. And of course, having a chronic illness most of my life, I put it off, right? Because I'm like, oh, it's probably just my diabetes, you know, like I'm, you know, getting really good at managing my diabetes. I'm getting better at managing my diabetes. Yeah. Maybe it's my body just adjusting, right? Well, finally, after numerous tests, numerous doctor's appointments, my endocrinologist was able to do blood work to check for celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disease of your gut, right? Where if you eat anything with gluten in it, or contaminated with gluten, it creates an immune response, and your body's like, we gotta destroy whatever that is, and then it hurts your intestines. So that blood work came back positive. I'm still waiting I have to have an endoscopy biopsy done. I'm still waiting for that. But the thing that just kills me with it is that I didn't know this until recently, but 1 in 10 type 1 diabetics develops celiac disease, and I have 9 type 1 diabetic friends.
Wow.
No, that's a joke. That's a joke. But I would be the 10th one, right? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Gosh.
But yeah, of course, that would be my luck, right? I have 9 friends that don't have celiac disease, and so of course it's me. Of course it's me. So,
oh my goodness, I love it. I'm so literal. I'm like, really?
No, but like that's how I like to think about it. But yeah, so we're still working on that. But you know, the way I see it is, a lot of people have a really difficult time when someone has a diagnosis of something. I always hear, I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry that happened, I'm sorry you feel. Please don't feel sorry. Be glad that we figured out what's wrong.
Right.
You know, flip that logic a little bit. Like, please don't feel bad for me. Feel glad that we finally found out what is making me not feel well, and now we can treat it, and now I can be back to my normal happy-go-lucky self. You know, it's just another thing you got to deal with, you know, just like putting gas in your car. I mean, really, that's the way I try to look at it. Like, just another part of my day, you know, and I think it's, you know, just important to remember that, like, sometimes people don't want you to tell them, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, oh, I feel so bad for you. Please don't feel bad for me, please. Like, yes, be empathetic and understand that maybe, you know, some days I'll have bad days.
Right.
But girl, we're gonna feel better soon. Oh yes, we're gonna cut out all that gluten, you know, eat all the gluten-free Chex Mix from my daughter. Like, it's fine. I tell her that, you know, the corn Chex aren't good anyway, so she won't eat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really where I'm at now. I was also being tested for various leukemias and cancers as well, which have all come back negative. So I wasn't going to stress about them anyway. And I also have to have an MRI done on my liver. My liver's looking a little funny, but you know, we're not entirely sure what all is going on, but one day at a time, you know, one day at a time, and we'll figure it out. And, you know, one of two things is going to happen once we figure it out. Either I'm dying and I'm going to live it up. I'm going to spend every penny I have. I'm going to go everywhere, and I'm going to take all the pictures with my family, right? If that's what happened, that's what's going to happen if I'm dying. Most likely not. The other thing is we're going to figure out what it is, and we're going to treat it, and I'm going to feel better and still spend all my money going everywhere. So
either way, we're going on family vacation.
Yeah, we're going on a vacation. We're going on a trip. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's really good. Just even thinking about, because I have an autoimmune disease, and I have rheumatoid arthritis.
And yes,
and
it's
one of the, yes. And it's just one of those silent things, and it's like you can't always look at the person and know they're in pain,
right.
And you don't want to complain about it, and it can take you on a spiral emotionally if you're not careful.
Right.
And I love like just the mindset that you have, because instead of being emotional about it, it's just like, it's a good thing that we're finding out what these things are, and we're still, I'm actually seeing a different rheumatologist, because, you know, I live in Georgia now, and he's like convinced it's not rheumatoid arthritis. And at first I was like really suspect of him, and I'm just like, but what if it's not? Like, I want to know the answer, and if it's something that we can treat better, you know, so I am trying to work on my mindset, and that was an encouragement to me. Look, y'all, if y'all don't get anything out of it, I was just encouraged by your mindset of thinking differently about it, and no, I don't have to feel sorry about it, like, or be so upset, like, why do I have this? I'm so young, like, this is something I'm supposed to have when I'm like 70, you know, things like that. But thank you, God, that I know what this is, and that I can be treated for it, and I'll be better. And I'm encouraged by that A1C. I know I don't have diabetes, but I'm encouraged by, like, okay, we are going to get, you know, this. Even thinking about the fact that I have to remember the small things, like not having inflammation anymore in my blood work, you know, and
those are
that's
victories.
Yeah,
they're small victories, but they're still victories.
Definitely.
And they still just, when you feel good, and I've noticed, like, you know, as the years have gone on, and I've been better at taking care of my diabetes, like, the better I feel, like, because my diabetes is controlled, the more I can do, and the more I can talk, which we all know I'm good at, the more I can advocate, and the more I can really stand up for people that really need to be stood up for.
Definitely.
Our minority, you know, the people that are in those groups, and I can be there, you know, it's to support people. And that's my goal at the end of the day, is to, humans are all we have. Each human, all we have are humans, right? All we have are each other. And I'm a strong believer in taking care of each other, because that's all we got.
Yeah.
You know, and people are so mean and hateful for no darn reason whatsoever. And I have very little patience for it. And anybody that I can help, and the fact that you're sitting here and telling me I helped, I've blown away. Like, I never thought that would happen. But, you know, that you have to speak goodness, you know, and you know, and maybe your doctor's right. You know, maybe it's not rheumatoid arthritis. Maybe you're going to have some other tests that might be a little scary. But just remember that the end goal at the end of the day is for you to feel better, so that you can keep doing what you do well.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Much. I'm so glad you're here. Because I love that you love to share your story.
Thank you.
Because that's how other people will be encouraged, and you are keeping people aware. And I love that you're like, no, people need to know about this.
Right.
And ladies, I know that, I mean, we just touched just a little bit on a couple of things, but I know, you know, you may be dealing with cancer, diabetes, any type of autoimmune disease.
Any illness, really.
Any illness. We just pray that you are encouraged by this, and that this would even help you to have a different mindset of things, and see it from a different point of view of, no, I don't have to feel sorry for myself, or no, I don't even have to say I feel sorry for someone else, but more like, wow, well, I'm so glad now that they know what is going on. So I just pray that you are encouraged. And just before we go, can you, just someone who may be, and it doesn't have to be just diabetes, And I think you've touched base on it all throughout. You've kind of just been giving advice all throughout. But if you could just say something for any woman out there, and even if there's a man watching this that may be battling with some type of illness, and we know that it's an emotional toll. We know it's frustrating to wake up in pain or not know what your numbers are, or not if you're going to have a good day or if you're going to be exhausted. Is there anything that you would like to say, just any advice you would like to give?
Sure, I think I've got two, all right? So I've got one for folks with diabetes and one without. For the folks with diabetes, some days your illness is gonna win, and it's gonna be a really rough day, and it's gonna be hard, but the next day is a new opportunity, and you're gonna be able to start that day, and you're allowed to be mad about your sugar being all wonky and not being good, and you just had a really rough day. You're allowed to feel that way, and that's okay. But most of the time, diabetes is not going to win. So for those days that diabetes wins, I'm sure Tamara will let you know how you can get in touch with me, and I will give you the pep talk of a life. But the other thing I'd like to mention too is for anybody, like, if you have an illness of any sort, the important thing to remember is that you know yourself better than any doctors do. Sure, you might have to learn about your illness in the beginning, right? And how to manage it and how to control it and how to be in charge of it. But at the end of the day, you have to trust yourself. You have to know, your illness better than anyone else. I know my diabetes better than anyone else. I know that if I eat Chinese food, my sugar is going to go up.
Some people don't have that problem. I do. But I have to trust myself too and know that I have to give myself this insulin and know it's going to happen. And just having that is very empowering too.
Yeah.
So if you ever feel discouraged, remember that you are the one that is in control. You're in the driver's seat of whatever is going on. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be about an illness either. And it's just every day, remember, you're the one in charge. You're the one that gets to decide. And you know yourself best,
That's so good. Thank you so much, Paige.
Oh, thank you for having me. Oh, it was wonderful being here with you.
And I pray that you all have received something from this, and share with someone, share with your loved one, so that they can be encouraged as well. And just remember, these are real women, real stories, real power. Thank you.